Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to beer, vanilla porter beer with JD. This is actually the first time I'm gonna taste this. Um, the the event to commemorate this. Let me set this up. Is I finally am able to do the 300 subscribers giveaway Q&A. There weren't many people asking, but there were many questions, so let's get into it. Ammalyrical from Ammalyrical. Wait, let me trace. And cheers to everyone who asked. Thank you. Brief reminder. I'll get to this soon. Brief reminder. The people who will be selected tomorrow. It's going to be 3 people, and those 3 people will win a copy of one of my books of their choosing. It's ebooks. Joe Compton's Amongst the Killing, Anais Charchenko's The Weightless One, and Christy Estrada's Anatomy of a Darkened Heart. So, let's get cracking. Ammalyrical. That's nice. Ask me, ever considered traveling around the world? Yes, and in different contexts, actually. It's something that would fascinate me for a couple of reasons. Let's go more in depth. At one point, I had this crazy idea that I could go from state to state and town to town, taking up like small jobs in small towns where I could earn my keep and then either play an acoustic set or do a public reading or something of the sorts and write in each town. Very idyllic, very Five Goes West or something. I don't know. And globetrotting has always appealed to me. And the main limitation with globetrotting is cost and time, meaning vacation days. Because to properly see the world, you have to be there for a while. But part of why I want to be successful is so I can visit a bunch of other places and meet all the people that have been, kind enough to interact with me, or who have read my books or reviewed my books, or whom are friends that live thousands of miles away. And that's actually a goal. Sure, I like to make millions and millions, but the main thing is to pay off all my debts, make sure that my family is well cared for, and see the world while I ride up a storm. Question number 2. What is your favorite book genre to read? Although I do enjoy mixing it up, fantasy is my jam. It could be urban fantasy. It could be science fiction fantasy. No. I also enjoy sci-fi. But when you see my collection, you see what I read. You know that I'm a big fantasy fan. I don't know. I think there's a lot of truth into fiction, and speaks in a language that resonates. And lastly, and also very important, do you also have a fondness for amazingly blue skies? I'm actually fond of the sky in many ways. I am fond of blue skies, but I'm also fond of lavender skies, or sunset and dusk, and sunrise, and those in-betweens. The in-betweens are fascinating. When the sun sets or the sun rises, lots of things play tricks on you. When you're surfing and it gets to a point where you can't see, your depth perception gets shot and you can't see waves that are coming, but still it looks really ethereal and really nice. And actually, one of my favorite weathers to surf in and write in and read in is overcast. So, am I partisan just to amazingly blue skies? No. Do I love them? Yes. You'll more than you know it's quite probable that on a really sunny day, you'll see me walking down the streets looking up at the skies like that, like a little, like Snoopy, just walking like Snoopy. Because you gotta enjoy the small things too. Next set of questions from Ola from Italy. Ola Magics. Lovely lovely reader who left me a really in-depth review that I could get a lot of insights from. I I am curious to see what she will think of Shadow of a Human, because a lot of the things that she commented on Only Human, I do think that I addressed in my second novel, but that's just me waffling on. Let's get into her questions. What is my favorite pair of fun socks in my collection? I have a bunch that are really special to me, but there are two that stand out. But you said one, so I'm gonna pick one. There's one that I wear on really super special occasions, including when I got married, which are Cat in the Hat socks, and I can't find those anywhere else. And they're their days are numbered. And I'm really fond of those socks, and I'm really fond of a pair of Joker socks because the Joker and I go back a long, long, long time. And when I wear those, it's like a talisman of sorts. And there are other socks that I'm very fond of, wonderful gifts from all around. But those two are like the highlights. Second question: if I could create the perfect custom JD socks, how would they look like? That is tough. That is tough. I should have read this and researched and given it some more thought. But I would probably try to have all the elements that make up who I am in a pair of socks. It would be like a mural. It would start, like with something that would fade into another thing and another thing. So it would start in a beach and it would fade into a desk with pen and paper. It could be a notebook, and then to a bunch of books, then to a guitar, and end up back at the ocean. So it would start like skies and waves, and then it would go into my writing, and then into my reading, and then into my music, and then finish off and my toesies in the sand. If you can understand that. That's off way. That's not even off the top of my head. I had to skim the top off, peel a bit more and get something for that answer. But thank you. Question actually number 6. I'm gonna count them off. If you could create also the perfect custom JD yogurt mix, what would it be? There's no single yogurt. If you haven't seen my Instagram and you're wondering why I got asked this, check out my Instagram. I consistently try new yogurts. Oh God, new yogurts and new fruits and new stuff, just so that you can see my face and laugh for a while. As for what my favorite yogurt would be, the thing is that I like variety a lot, in my reading, in my writing, in my music, and in my yogurts. So I'm not sure. Since it's my answer, I would make it the daydream in the Sherbet Shore yogurt, meaning that in the morning it tastes like one flavor, and at midday it tastes like another, and at night it tastes like another. So, and without me getting poisoned, that would be the biggest challenge. But that would be my perfect mix. So it would be weird. It's like, oh no, I would rather this flavor, so I have to wait an hour. Mm. And those are the questions from Ola. Brittany Reads, wonderful booktuber. If you haven't checked out her channel, I don't know why, because if you've seen my channel, you've seen me tag and give her shout out. She's fantastic. She asked actually a very Puerto Rican question, and I actually love this. I've heard Puerto Rican pig roasts are a thing. Are they a thing? If yes, have you been to one? Do you go to the Lechoneras? Pork is a staple of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, if you want to be cheeky. So, first question: have I been to a pig roast? If by pig roast you mean a Christmas party where they have a pig on a spit, which they probably bred and raised and then killed and prepared for us, I have. I've been to a couple, and it's really interesting. And to all my vegan friends, my bad, but it's true, and I am a meat eater. I know you're not fond of that, but it is what it is. As for lechoneras, if you lechoneras are places that are dedicated to selling mainly pork and other local staples, local food fare. And that would include blood sausage, which is called morcilla. It would include other stuff. We like frying stuff too, so I've gone to many a lechonera, and yeah, pork is delicious if you eat meat. And the way that we don't do barbecue, we do um, lechon a la vara. I was like puerco, and like we don't say puerco, lechon a la vara. Um, the crust is amazing, the meat is amazing, the seasoning is amazing. I'm sure that it's not the healthiest option if you take into account salt and whatnot, but it is something very traditional of Puerto Rico. It is an experience. If you do eat meat, by all means go to Calle, but don't go to the first couple of places. Go way up, or talk to someone who knows. There's other places in towns like Sidra that have great pork. So give it a shot. If you have family there that actually do this, you should partake in that event. It is loud, it is rambunctious, food is great, and the idea is to gather around food. So, yeah, I've been there, Brittany, and it's been awesome. If you like pork, by all means, if I'm ever on the island and you ever visit, I'll hook you up. You and the hubs, if you guys like meat, you're gonna really enjoy that. And then the wonderful walk-in casino, a lovely friend from Canada sent me. I lost count how many questions. I think it's 10. So let's start. They made a movie about Edgar Allan Poe as an action hero. Which famous author would you like to see an action-oriented movie created for? I gave this some thought, and I think I would like first J.K. Rowling and then Tolkien, and in that order for a specific reason. Firstly, female authors don't get enough exposure and enough credit for what they do. I give Joanne a lot of credit into me being a writer even, and I would love to see the metaphor of her life through the wizarding world, because she has succeeded through perseverance and thick skin and talent, an abundance of talent. And she gives hope that there is hope for us indies and whatnot, and us writers who venture into the world of words. And I would love to see an action film showing that, you know, showing the magic in her life and how courageous she was. As for Tolkien, I would love to see him in the role of Gandalf, and his role in life as Gandalf, and also to see the mental battles that he had. And lastly, and probably more than Tolkien, I'll move Tolkien to number 3 for one reason. But I would love to see an action movie of H.P. Lovecraft, because if anyone is underrated, is H.P. Lovecraft. There is a lot of love for Tolkien, and Lovecraft deserves equal praise, honestly. In terms of horror and short fiction, the guy was amazing. And he had to have battled some really crazy demons in that head of his, because his stories are insane. Question number 2 from The Walking Casino. If I were a serial killer, what would be my calling card at each crime scene? I'm not going to tell you that. Then people can find me. I don't know. I would leave a Maki role. Question number 3. What do you think the zombie apocalypse genre needs to become fresh and interesting? Gay zombies. Think about it. But I don't know. I think It's something I'm actually gonna work on something. I do have a title related to zombies and the zombie apocalypse and how one of the blank comics is called Raining Dead, and it's about a samurai, a vampire, and a Native American. And thanks to them, is that the zombie apocalypse of the 19th century was eradicated. And I will do one more title on that. I won't do more because it's not something that I'm super enthused about and fascinated by. But it is something that I would like to try something really different in. So expect my book with zombies for that answer. Question number 4. If you were a supervillain, what needlessly convoluted and complicated trap would you leave your captured hero nemesis in to meet their doom? I have no idea. You know, these answers are meant to be top of mind. The thing is that these answers can lead to something that I can include in the story. Henceforth, that's why I'm a bit wary of answering them. But to give you an answer, mm, I would force them to have to read through 20 books in a couple of days, um, to give reviews to indie authors because it's that tough. If I was lost at sea, likely to die, and had the opportunity to leave a short message in a bottle, what would I write? Um, Happiness is a choice that everyone can choose. Um, Period. Peace, love, and Makiros, JD. Why do I say this? I've met some amazing people who have gone through extraordinarily intense and negative experiences, and still they are happy. They choose to be happy. They have to fight to be happy because it's so much that it can get to be a lot. But they choose to be happy. And a lot of people forget that. And to have the gall to write that on a note when I know that I'm gonna die, I would love to have the mental strength to really write that and mean it. Because again, there's no reason why we can't be happy, and a lot of people are miserable because they think happiness is supposed to happen, or they're supposed to be given happiness or something, and it's actually something you have to seek out, and it is a choice. Every day you can choose if you're in a good mood or a bad mood. You know, some days it's easier to get to a good mood than others. Other days you have to fight for it, and you have to find options for it, and I can attest to that. I don't like being in a bad mood. I don't like being down, but it's something that happens. But I fight to walk and make my way towards happiness. So yeah, happiness is a choice. Choose wisely. Next question. If I were contracted to write a what if Harry Potter book that asks what the world would look like 10 years after Voldemort won, what would it be like? It would be much like a Star Wars scenario where where a revolution is stirring and gaining force. The Cursed Child offered an option for that, and that's actually very viable. I didn't mind that book, by the way. A lot of people hate it, and I'm like, it's not that bad. And actually, it's not that bad. I read it in 2 days. So if I can read it in 2 days, it's not bad. I've read bad books. It takes a lot of effort to read a bad book. If you can breeze through a bad book, it's not that bad. But it would actually go beyond the wizarding world because part of Voldemort's plan was to basically attack humanity. So it would be like a worldwide revolution of sorts. And people would have to one accept that magic exists and not be blind to it, which offers so many fascinating options. And second off, the revolution, it would be interesting to see if it started from the human side or from the wizarding side, or a combination of both. Or it would be interesting to see what's the catalyst. Um, Obviously, Dementors would be roaming. People would be getting hit with the Cruciatus hex constantly. It would look much like a dictatorship because Voldemort has that dictator mentality. So look at Venezuela and Cuba and other places for reference. If you could gift one species of animal the ability to communicate through human speech and language, which species do you think would make the best conversationalist? I honestly think the best conversation, it depends on what you mean. The most entertaining conversation, I think it would be a cat. The best conversation in terms of having a conversation with a buddy would be a dog. And this is me speaking from experience with cats and dogs. Cats are very independent, very observant, very curious, very cheeky. They're brilliant and they do really crazy stuff. But if I had a really good cat friend and a really good dog friend, I would go for the dog every time I need for like real advice, or a hairy shoulder, a furry shoulder to cry on. And there's other animals that I think would be fascinating, but because these animals are in abundance, I would love to hear them. And actually, I'm gonna add a twist to that. Since it's animals and that's open to interpretation, I would like to see what bugs have to say in general. Bugs can really get close to you and they can be vampiric and suck your blood and really get to know you really intimately. So imagine all the stories that they have. And in terms of evolution, compare a mammal to an insect. An insect is fascinating, and they can survive some heinous shit. It's crazy. So, but in terms of what I would enjoy, cats and dogs, both. One, to hear their monologue and hear how they would bash us, and the other one to have a good chat because I've had way too many dogs that have understood me better than humans for me to ignore that fact. Mm. Which villain do you think? This is the Walking Casino, by the way. Which villain do you think is most sympathetic? I don't. I think to be a villain, you can't be sympathetic. To be a real villain, you have to bypass that. At some point, you have to cut down that. Um, Actually, I'm not sure if I could say anyone is really sympathetic as a villain. Uh, Taking a stab at it, I think Darth Vader would be the most sympathetic. Uh, Vader was brutal, but at the end, he knew he kind of had an idea he'd messed up, and I do think that he could sympathize, and he was a villain. At the end, he did. We're not even fully sure if he vanquished the Emperor. He just tossed them off a tower, and the Emperor was so crazy powerful that who knows what the hell happened. Honestly, but Vader was a product of a variety of things, and he had the potential for good. And I think any villain that has the potential for good and actually chooses otherwise, they're gonna be the most sympathetic. because at some point they're gonna go like, wow, I could have been different. Another good option would be Agent Smith from the Matrix. He hated being a human, and there are humans that hate being humans and hate being alive. So try to imagine taking that point of view, that analytic point of view, that program point of view at being human, understanding feelings and emotions and senses. You know, I think that's a really good option. And yeah, I'll leave it at those two because I could keep going on and on if I give this more thought. Next question from the Walking Casino. There's three more. Through a mishap with a time machine, you've accident. I love this, by the way. I adore this. I love having to answer a ton of really challenging questions that are worthy of me, including big chunks in my writing. So, uh, uh, thanks, Casino. This was awesome. The question. Through a mishap with a time machine, you've accidentally been given credit for writing someone else's book. What book is it? I wouldn't accept it. The thought of taking credit for someone else's work repulses me. And, I'm a pretty nice guy, but the only thing I would respond to vehemently would be anyone who accuses me of plagiarism, because that's where I draw the line. I think that is the greatest and grossest and most awful offense that you can commit to someone, and that is my answer. So I don't even want to give that thought because I wouldn't accept it. I could give it thought, but I don't want to because honestly, I put a lot of effort into my stuff being my own. Next question: if Nathaniel Reynolds was a sandwich, how do you make one? I.e., why? What are the ingredients? Here's the thing: when you supersize a Nathaniel sandwich, Nathaniel Reynolds is one of the main protagonists of the Human Cycle, which is my novel series, if you're wondering. He does evolve. So if you supersize Nathaniel, phase one has certain ingredients, phase two has certain ingredients, phase three has certain ingredients. So I've only written the first two, so let's focus on the first one. It would be it would be a pretzel bread. It would have deli mustard. It would be stale pretzel bread, deli mustard, um, plain all American cheese, pickles, and salami. It would have no vegetables because if you read the first novel, he's not in a good place. Second novel, much better bread. It would probably be, I think, sourdough, which is kind of related to pretzel. So sourdough bread, he would have lettuce and tomatoes and onions. He would have deli mustard, but the best kind. The book is dark, so it would have black forest ham and pastrami because those are two of the darker cuts that I can think of at the moment. And he's in that novel in Shadow of a Human. He's in pain, so it would probably include serrano peppers to give it first off to give it a kick, and second off to put you in pain. So yeah, there you go. And the last question from the wonderful Walking Casino. By the way, if you haven't checked out his channel, type in Walking Casino on YouTube, and you will find a quirky guy who should do more videos. Just saying, my friend. What do you like to eat when you feel nostalgic? There's different types of nostalgia, and whatever I have accessible is going to be what determines what I eat. And eat, not drink, because drink is actually easier. If I were to eat something and be nostalgic, nostalgic means that I'm reflecting on the past, so it's something that reminds me of the past. So I would probably indulge in some vintage candy. You know, I am a fan of candy. I am a fan of vintage candy, and in terms of being transported back to my youth, I find that I ate a lot of candy and a lot of junk food, or at least that flavor and aroma of those things do remind me most of my youth. It could be a ton of things. It could be nerds, spree, sweet tarts. It could be Mary Janes, which my dad was really fond of. Mary Janes are like peanut caramel or peanut nougat. Even a Snickers bar. I wouldn't say a Crunch bar because a Crunch bar nowadays sucks. Crunch bars were awesome when they came in foil, and if you had a piece of foil and bit into it, it could feel like you were gonna die. Um, just so much pain. But okay, that Chick stick is another one. Cherry clam is another one. Bottle caps is another one. Airheads, I'm fond, but not so much. Sunflower seeds, I was very fond of sunflower seeds as a kid, as I was of corn nuts. All of those things remind me a lot of my youth. At the Comic Con I had wholesome. Wholesome is a Puerto Rico brand. Wholesome brand powdered donuts, and that was like wow, going back to when I was 9. It's not to say that I only ate junk food, but the things that when you're a kid you're most fond of or blow your mind is that. Because if I would focus on food, mom, when I was a lot younger, cooked a lot of arroz con pollo, which is rice and chicken, typical dish of Latin culture. Try to imagine a paella, but with chicken. That's the closest thing I can come to because some people I've actually heard people say, "Oh, it's like a risotto," and it's not as gumbo-y as a risotto. It's supposed to be more loose. Mm, that mom's mom's flank steak is bonkers, amazing. Her chicken fricassee is amazing as well. A bunch of other stuff that also remind me of my youth. But yeah, all those things I would eat to feel nostalgic, and even if I want to remember certain things, um, vanilla baby food. Actually, a good friend of mine was like, "Dude, you have to try it." He's a grown ass guy. He's like 16 or 17 when I was in his home. He's like, "You gotta try this," and I'm like, "Ah." And then I enjoyed it. So basically, try to imagine two teenagers at home watching TV, and instead of having a beer when they shouldn't, we're like eating vanilla baby food. Esteban, that's you. Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah, those are the walking casino questions. And the next question is from Emily Irizarry. Which are your favorite socks? I already answered this, but I will answer with more options. I am very fond of. I'm really fond of the Little Prince socks. That was a really cool gift, and I'm really fond of the Little Prince. So I really enjoy those socks, and when I wear them, they normally have a purpose. It's like I want to get in a mindset. I'm also very fond of my Zelda socks and the ones that look like a notebook. And her second question is, which of the recent poem books was challenging to write? All the poetry books are challenging to write. The two most recent one are Black Tie Affair and Relay of Rhymes. Each one is challenging for different reasons. In terms of structure, Relay of Rhymes is a lot more challenging than Black Tie Affair. In terms of content, Black Tie Affair was a lot more challenging. It was me tapping into new stuff and new experiences and new emotions, and allowing myself to use adult language, which is something that I don't normally use in poetry, and just going there. So, in terms of which one was more difficult to write. I think Relay of Rhymes, the Madness of Jonathan J. George, was 800 lines, and getting in the mindset to write that was challenging. And I really, in terms of difficulty, I pushed myself a lot more in that one, as in, what can I do as a poet? And I'm very proud of both for very different reasons. I'm proud of all my poetry collections and actually anything that I publish, even if people don't get it. So, yeah, that's the answer. And Olivia from I Live You for Books asked, worst thing I've ever tasted. That yogurt I had recently was pretty bad, which was the curry coconut with toasted almonds. That was god awful. But that is not the worst thing I've tasted. If I would have to say the worst thing I've tasted, I would have to go back to a time where 4 people that I worked with, me and 3 other people that I worked with, we all got kind of food poisoning. Not full blown that we had to go to the hospital, but it did not sit well with us. It was a Chinese food buffet. If you see a Chinese food buffet, go in, smell it, and then decide if you want it. We didn't, and we paid the price. And I probably tasted the equivalent of what a fish's armpit tastes like. And not a well, groomed and freshened up armpit would smell like. No, this would be like a nasty ass fish armpit, and what that would smell like. So those are the answers. I will do tomorrow the video for whoever wins the giveaway. I will take these same papers. I will not print out anything new. I will cut out the names. I will put the names in the cup, the sorting cup. And I will select winners tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And for now, thank you for sticking around for this long video. To everyone who asked a question, thank you so much. These mean a lot. I hope you enjoyed the random answers. Until next time, peace, love, and mock your rolls.